welcome back to my channel. My name is Bridget and I'm the Museum Stitcher here on FlossTube, but also over on Instagram, Ravelry, and Goodreads. Welcome back to my channel. This is my little corner of the internet where I talk about my crafting life, mostly about cross stitch. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than my normal vlog style videos, where I just go over my projects that I've worked on in the last few weeks. We're going to be doing a kit parade. So this is kind of like a WIP parade. If you're familiar, WIP means work in progress. And that's when you go through and you show all of your projects that you have currently working at the moment. And a kit parade is where you show all the projects that you have bought everything for and you haven't started. So I love watching kit parades. I think it's really fun to see what kinds of projects people are interested in. It's fun for other floss tubers to get to, you know, see what you have going on and, you know, plan future stitch alongs or start alongs. So if you see anything that throughout this video that you also have and you want to start with me, let me know and we can do that. I have a lot of kitted projects. I kind of went on a kitting streak here in the last couple months, and yeah, so we're gonna just kind of open bags. There's not gonna be any really rhyme or reason, and I thought maybe at the end we could talk through a little bit of a wish list, like a few projects that I have the chart that I'd like to kit up all the rest of the way, or a few projects that I don't have any of the supplies for that are kind of on my radar for the current moment. I can't guarantee that any of these are like guaranteed starts right now, just because I'm a mood stitcher. I start things when I want to start them and with the people I want to start them with. And yeah, sometimes the mood strikes you to stitch on something, and if you've got it all ready to go, it's just that much easier. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of open bags. I have a giant bucket and I pulled everything out of the bucket so that I can put it back in the bucket as we go. So everything is just kind of on the floor and we're just gonna open bags and talk about projects and things. So let's start off with this one. So I have all of my kitted projects in these Amazon bags. I just bought a whole bunch of them, and so that way I'm not using any of my fancy project bags in like my kitted projects bucket, and then I transfer them into a nicer bag when they get started. This one I don't have the paper chart for, but this is Isabella's Heart by Modern Folk Embroidery, and I actually bought the fully kitted situation. So it came with the digital pattern and the fabric and the floss. This is the kit from Evertote, which is a Canadian website where you buy Roxy Floss Co. So I have the Roxy Floss that's called for with the called for blank slate linen, which is going to be beautiful. I did intend to start this year back in February because this feels like a very romantic wintry piece, but I got distracted and didn't do it. So this one is still on the go. This one is a kit that was sent to me. This is the entire Polar Plunge series by Hands On Design. It's a series of like 5 ornaments. This was sent to me by Stitching Lane, which is a new cross stitch shop that just opened. There is a coupon code if you use my code MUSEUM1. I don't get any kickback from it, but it will get you a % off at their new store. So they sent this to me along with all of the classic colorworks to stitch them. So you need to start those little ornaments. Then I got, ooh, this is a fun one. This is The Witching Time of Night by the Nebby Needle. A really small, simple Halloween pattern. It only has 2 colors of floss that's called for. And I don't have the floss in the bag because it just needs a black and a white. So I'm gonna pull that when the time comes. But this is the fabric that I have with it. This was a 32 count cut of Murky by Picture This Plus that I got, and I didn't love the color for this. So I actually overdyed on top of the Murky with some like gray and purple. And then it kind of came out this like brown, black, very witchy color. So I'm excited to see how that project stitches up on this one. I don't know if the black is going to show up as well. I may end up like stitching this in like shades of ivory or gray. I am not sure, but I have this one kitted. It's very small, so I could knock this out in like a weekend if I wanted to. So there's that one. Okay, next up is I have a few Forbidden Fiber Co kits. I bought a lot of these when I started cross stitching because she does a lot of like pop culture themed patterns, and I really enjoy that for like small weekend projects in between like larger, more traditional cross stitches. So this is Sharks and Minnows. This is from her Yellowstone box, and I do have a planned change for this chart to include the curse words because I can, I'm an adult. And I have the kitted Forbidden Fiberco flosses, as well as the chart. This also came with fabric, but I didn't love the included fabric. And I think sometimes with the Forbidden Fiberco kits, you do have to kind of guess on what fabric you'd want. And for me, I very much like stitching on different fabrics based on different vibes. I don't necessarily always choose the same cut of fabric for everything. And this I bought with linen, and the pattern screams Aida to me because it's a lot of fill-in. So I will be stitching that on an Aida when probably the new season of Yellowstone comes back out, and try and crank it out while I watch that show. Okay, next up is another one I don't have the physical pattern for. This is In Spring by Bendy Stitchy. I got this kit from the Spring Equinox box by Fangirl Fibers. So I have the kitted Underworld 28 count even weave. My one thing, so I loved this box. It was very cool. I liked most of the stuff that came with it. But Fangirl Fibers only offers 14 count Aida or 28 count even weave. And I don't really stitch on 28 count or 14 count anymore unless there's like a very specific purpose for it. So that's probably why I've stalled on this chart. I need to probably get some like 40 count to stitch with it. I have a friend who really likes Lore Olympus, and the chart for this is based on Lore Olympus, which is a webtoon, which is essentially just an online comic book that follows the Greek gods. And so it came with all of the Fangirl Fibers silks to stitch the chart, which are so soft. But I think the silks, you just pull them off the spool and stitch them, which is probably why it came with a 28 count fabric, kind of like Valdani with the Seasonal Quakers. So maybe I will stitch it with that. I just don't want this chart to be that big. Like, I'd rather have it be a little smaller. So I have that ready to go when I am in my mythology era of stitching. Ooh, okay, this one's fun. I recently kind of partially kitted this one when I was kind of going through my kitted bucket before I filmed this. And this is Cross Stitch Makes Everything Okayer by Lucy Beam. I've loved this chart for a while. I saw the model at my LNS. They were having a Lucy Beam trunk show, and I loved it. So I thought this would be fun to kit out of stash. It only has like 5 colors that are called for, and it's relatively small, and I loved it. So I actually went through my color and cottons, and I pulled close to the called for, but I don't know if I want to do a color conversion or not. But these were the colors that I settled on. But I couldn't find a fabric in my stash that I loved with it. So I don't know, maybe I will make these a little bit more vibrant. I don't know, I'm still deciding, but that is that partially kitted. I just need fabric for it. Oh, I forgot, I'm putting them back in the bucket. Okay, oh, I love this one. I keep forgetting I have this. This is Little House Needleworks, which I love their charts. This is Giving Thanks. There it is. And it says, I'm thankful for my daily bread and also for my cross stitch thread. And I saw this in one of Julie, Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World's older videos. It was sitting finished behind her, and I loved it. And I thought it would be a fun like Thanksgiving weekend stitch because it's pretty small. So I have the Call for Classic Colorworks. Sorry, I'm gonna drop it. Call for Classic Colorworks, very beautiful fall tones in this. And then I have a chunk of fabric from my stash. This is 36 count Dusty Road by Seraphim. I stitched Good Intentions with this. So this is what was left over from the fat quarter. And I think that'll be a great linen for that project. So yeah, I think this will be like a Thanksgiving week start. Last year, my Thanksgiving week start and finish was Striding Tom by Lindy Stitches, so this will be perfect. And you guys know I like a lot of, well, maybe you don't know, maybe you're new, but I do like to do a lot of like cross stitch or crafting themed cross stitches because I do a lot of other crafts in addition. Oh, okay. This one I want to start this year. This is Token of Fall by Hello from Liz Matthews. And I have the Called for DMC, and this is charted in Glorianas. So I do have 2 of the Glorianas. I decided to get ones that had like larger fill-in sections. So the giant blue bird I'll be stitching in the silk, and then the green leaves I'll also be stitching in silk. Everything else will be in DMC. And I have some fabric pulled for this one. I think I will change, but I did put in like the starting point so that when I do start it, I don't have to do any counting. But this linen is really see-through, and I don't know. I don't know that I love it. So I may be switching out the linen on this one. But it's like a random 36 count linen that was in my stash that I don't know who made it. Actually, I think it was the same fabric that I used on Butterfly Cloche. I got from my LNS. It was the only 36 count they had in stash. I had only been cross-stitching for a month when I started that piece, and it was my first time stitching on linen, first time stitching on 36 count. And yeah, so they gave me something that was kind of on the cheaper end because I was new. Okay, next up is a Mira. I have a few Mirabilias partially kitted. I don't buy the DMC until I'm a bit closer, but one of my goals is to stitch all of the seasonal queens. So this is Summer Queen, and she is beautiful. And I have some fabric in my stash that is meant for her. This is a 32 count Lugana in Please Scream on the Inside of Your Head. Please Scream Inside Your Head is the name of this fabric. And it is the most beautiful mauve color. And I just think she is going to pop so much with the blue on this like mauvey pinky fabric. And I do really like stitching on Lugana, especially for something like this. So that is ready to go. I'll just buy all of the threads when I am more ready to start this. But I did want to kind of remind myself that I had fabric earmarked for it. Next up is another seasonal queen by Mirabilia. This one is an out of print one. I did pay out of print pricing for it, but she is my favorite. This is Autumn Queen. And she's kind of Germanic, which my great-grandparents were German immigrants, so it's closer to my familial heritage. And the fabric that I have pulled for this one is a 32 count Be Stitch Me fabric in the color Pink Chocolate. I think this will be so pretty for her. Now there is a like color conversion on a Mirabilia Facebook group for her that does her in like golds, which I think is really pretty. So I am kind of toying with the idea of doing that or just keeping her in the blues and purples. Either way, I still think that fabric is going to work. So we'll be doing that. This one is a restart, so it is in a fancy project bag. This was my start on Halloween Quakers by Lila Studio, which I'll pop a picture of right here. But I am planning on restarting this on a different fabric because I think I went too out of my style. So I am instead going to stitch it on 40 count Tornado by Fox and Rabbit, which is closer to the called for, which is called for is Murky by Picture This Plus. I don't love Murky. So I think this is going to be better. And I think my elastic hair tie just popped, so I'm going to go fix my hair. Okay, next up we have a kit from a designer that I don't support anymore, but I will be stitching all of their patterns that I have in my stash. I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm just not, but I do love the chart. So this is a sampler for all seasons. I got this in a Facebook group and it is fully kitted. It came with the fabric, the Call for Classic Colorworks, and the pin set, because this is a series of patterns. So the main chart has this really beautiful quote and then like 4 seasonal houses and 2 pin cushions. So it came with everything. The quote reads, "When the weather is hot, rainy, or cold, I look at my chart and stitch as I'm told. The wind may howl, raindrops may fall, I'm in my own world and safe from it all. With colors of thread from every hue, it makes me happy, this much is true." Again, I love stitching pieces that talk about stitching or about like the calm presence of crafting in your life. So this came with Steinbeck by Needle and Flax in a 40 count, enough to do all 3 charts. So I do want to stitch this larger sample. sampler. This is in contention for my hashtag Back to School sale that is being hosted by Lauren, New Hampshire Stitcher here on FlossTube, who is also responsible for a few of these kits today. But this is like 350 stitches wide. It's not very tall, so I don't know if that disqualifies it, but it is like absurdly long. And there is a good amount of stitching in here. And I would like to have this done because it's kind of one of those, like, it's seasonal, but it's every season. So kind of fun. I really do like that chart. Oh, I love this one. Okay, so this is going to be a stitch along. So if you haven't started it yet and you want to kit it up, go ahead and do that. I don't know when because basically all of my friends and I bought this chart along with everyone else. Like, this is a very popular chart. This is Remember Me by Teresa Kogut. It is a huge sampler that came out at market this year, and I kitted it up along with a lot of my friends, but we haven't started it yet. And so whenever we all decide to start it, I think there's like 3 or 4 of us who all have it ready to go. It is another rather large sampler. There's another Teresa Kogut in this kit parade that'll be popping up, a large sampler from Teresa. 229 by 264. So this also could be in contention for Back to School, but essentially I have this kitted with a 40 count weathered stone by Atomic Ranch Fabrics that I got at StitchCon. And then I also have the Vicki Clayton, which is HDF silks for this. So I love these silk conversions, and Teresa Kogut in her charts, she calls for a lot of different threads from a lot of different dyers usually. Shit, this one, I might have just lied. This one might all be a DMC. Hold on. I want to check myself. Yeah, okay, this is called for in all DMC with 1 Weeks Dye Works and 1 Classic Colorworks. But I did go ahead and kit this up with the silks because it is such a huge sampler. It will be such a cool remembrance, not remembrance piece, but like, oh, why did I just blank on the word? What's the word for like heirloom? This will be a cool heirloom stitch to pass down one day. So splurging on the silks felt right. Oh my gosh, this chart. I bought this chart on Etsy fully kitted up, or not Etsy, eBay, fully kitted up. Tell me where the stitching is by the Primitive Hair. I was just on eBay looking at something else. I think it was another out of print chart, and this one popped up and it was a full kit ready to go, so I bought it. But I love it. I don't know what I was thinking though, because I just finished Miss Bingley's Library, which is a lot of white fill-in for a house. And this one is more than Miss Bingley's Library was. This chart is like, I think 133 by 192 or 191. So it's like double the size of Miss Bingley's Library, but it is beautiful and it is very much my style. So it came with the included fabric. It doesn't actually say what the fabric is, so I'm assuming it is the Primitive Hair linen that's called for. It is a larger weave, so that feels right to me. If I was going to stitch it though, I would probably kit it up myself with a 36 count, just so I could use 1 strand, because 2-stranded house fill-in sounds not good to me. And it came with the called for threads as well. So I probably will be replacing the fabric for this one when I decide to stitch it, but this is kind of low on the priorities list of everything. But I do think it is really gorgeous, and I would like to have it one day. Oh, this one is a subscriber recommendation. So thank you, shout out to whoever recommended this to me. But basically I had talked about how I got some kind of funkier fabrics and a few silks I wasn't sure how I was going to use in a Bestitch Me Halloween box last year. And someone recommended that I do this chart. So I bought it because it had cats in it, and that's all you need to get me. So this is Cats on Parade by Blackbird Designs. I think Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch is also stitching this or finished it. I think it's in her whip pile still. But I love both the drum and the flat finish. I think this is so cute, and I like a good monochromatic stitch as well. So I was going through my stash to kind of see about kitting it up with one of those funky Bestitch Me fabrics, and I settled on one that's not really very me, but this is Eye of Newt. This is a 40 count Verdal, that came in that box. It is the most obnoxious shade of neon yellow green. And then I put with it, because there was nothing else I was ever going to put on that fabric except just plain black floss. But that box also came with 10 yards of Cauldron Silk, which is a beautiful dark black with maybe a hint of brown. But that is what I have for this chart. And then I was talking to my friends about it, and my friend Megan, the Seattle stitcher, actually pointed out that with the yellow fabric, it kind of looks like a lantern. So I don't know if doing it on a 40 count means that the drum would be too small. So I may be foregoing the drum finish by choosing this combination, but I really like it. I think it'll be a fun, easy Halloween stitch, although I think Elizabeth Ankin Stitch has been working on it for a while and hasn't finished it yet, so maybe that doesn't bode very well for me, because she stitches in hand, and that means you can stitch faster, so we'll see. Oh, this one I kitted up very recently. I just got this chart, and I was trying to kit it out of stash, but this is Matter's Choice by Carriage House Samplings. My friend Megan was working on this, which inspired my purchase. I love it. I think it is so cool. I've been having a moment with Carriage House Samplings charts, and I was torn with doing like something really close to the called for in that like deep navy on kind of a funkier colored sampler fabric. But I decided ultimately I think I like this combination. So for the fabric, I just have some 40 count platinum by Zweigart. So very basic fabric. And then for the floss, I have this hank of silk that I got from Stitchy Box. This is their flower silk in the color Calling Birds. It was a limited edition colorway. It won't be back. And I bought the last hank of it, but it is the most beautiful variegated navy blue to burgundy to like an eggplant purple. And I have never stitched with something this variegated. And I wouldn't be, I know some people with these like extremely variegated flosses will intentionally fussy cut them to make it like 3 different colors. I don't want to put that much effort into this. And I also don't know where I would intentionally place every color. And I'm the kind of stitcher that I will make a lot of changes, but I do it all at the front end. When I start stitching, I'm just stitching. I'm not planning where things are going once I've started. I have to see the whole picture first and make sure it works before I start. It's just how my brain goes. So I think just stitching this and letting the variegation play, I think could be really cool with this chart. So we're gonna try it. If it doesn't end up coming together, I'll, you know, de-kit it and find something else. But I had both of these in my stash, and I love this silk. I haven't had any other chart that kind of fits the vibe of it yet, and I think the vibes could match. So I like that one. So thanks, Megan, for inspiring that one. Oh, okay. I think this is the last fancy lady that will be included in this kit parade, but this is a Bella Filipina. This is Magwine. Oh, I think she's beautiful. But essentially, a while back, Brandy of Bestitch Me dyed for a Friday Night Fight Night a lot of this fabric specifically for this chart, which is called Devil's Claw. This is a 32 count linen, and I was lucky enough to snag one. So I think she's going to look beautiful on here. And I have this one actually fully kitted with the DMCs and the beads and all the threads, all the beads, all of the, look at this sparkly treasure braid. So I have all the treasure braid, everything ready to go, but I would like to hit the halfway mark on my current Mira before I start this one. I think this will be the next one I start. But yeah, I have this fully kitted, ready to go. Oh, I forgot to put the chart back. That would have sucked. I'm going to stitch my fancy lady and her chart's gone. Okay. Next up is HL's Moth by Kathy Barrick. I just recently put this kit together. I typically wait to pull, for projects that are all kitted in DMC, I wait to pull the DMCs until I'm more sure that it's going to be a start. just because if I'm kitting something else, I may need to go pull from that kit, and I don't love that. So I do think this is going to be a pretty fast and soon start. So these are the DMCs as called for on some Midnight Galaxy, I think is the name of these Atom Heart thread hearts. All the called for DMCs, and then I kitted it up with this fabric that I got from the Top Knot Stitcher. This is a 16 count Night Sky Ada by Fiber on a Whim. And it is the exact size that I needed to stitch this. So it was like an ornament cut, and it was perfect. Because this is essentially full coverage, Ada was the right way to go. And 16 count Ada means I can pull 2 strands, so this is gonna be very easy stitching. The only thing that might give me a little trouble is how deep the fabric is, but again, it's Ada, so should not be an issue. But I love the colors in this one, and I needed to start one of Kathy's moths. I love her. She's one of my favorite designers. Speaking of Liz, let's talk about another Liz kit. So this is Hello from Liz Matthews. This is, which one is this? Oh, the Garden Side Sampler. Again, another cross-stitch crafty themed sampler, but I have this one kitted up with a cut of Flannel Flower by Fox and Rabbit and the called for DMCs. I did think I was going to start this at StitchCon, but I ended up having a few other starts that took the cake, but this is on the list of things to start shortly. It's not a huge sampler either. There is a tree for this one as well, but I am planning on stitching the whole sampler. Okay, next up is Song of the Nightingale, I think is what it's called, by Modern Folk Embroidery. And I love this chart for a while, but I wanted to do it in shades of pink. So I actually pulled 3 shades of pink a while back in DMC, which are these, until I realized that it was actually called for to be 2 shades of one color and then an accent color. And so I'm toying with the idea of taking out the lightest pink and making the accent color Color and Cotton Whiskey. This has a very Aurora vibe to me, which she is my favorite Disney princess, was growing up as well. I don't know, I kind of like the idea of throwing in the gold. Maybe I'll keep it with the pink. And I have this kitted with a 36 count Color and Cotton in the shade Heirloom Gold, Heirloom Lace. I also don't know if I want to change this to a different count of fabric. It is a rather large design to do on a 36, but I think it could be nice. I also may just swap it out to a 46, so it's like pretty dense coverage and tends to be a little bit smaller when it comes out. I'm not sure. Here's the other Teresa Kogut. I've had this kitted for a while, and I have charted some changes for this one. This is Let Love Rain. This was an expo release of last year. It's a book with a few patterns in it, but of course, I am drawn to the big sampler because I am a glutton for punishment. And this is what the full chart looks like. So the changes that I've made were to this row. I've rearranged this row completely because I don't love stitching prim people. So I cut out the people and then I think I mirrored the house. So I added another house to the row and did a few other things just to make it a little bit more my style. And I have this kitted with the called for DMC threads. And I think there's like 1 Classic Colorworks. And the fabric that I have pulled for this one is a 40 count Porcelain Linen by Roxy Flosco. It's just a fat quarter. It's like a perfect creamy fabric. If you have Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim, they are similar. Cream and Sugar is slightly more ivory than Porcelain is, but they're both gorgeous neutrals, and I don't know when I'm gonna stitch this one, so I probably should go ahead and pull these DMCs back out because I have had to pilfer. Like, it's not a full floss ring right now. There's a few other colors that are called for, but I've had to pilfer them from this bag because there's other pieces that I've wanted to start first. So I think I do need to pull the DMCs out of here, but I like this fabric with this chart, so that'll stay. Okay, next up is Practical Magic by The Primitive Hare, and I have the physical chart. This was an expo release last year. and I love it. And I'm going to be selling this one with my friend Megan, the Seattle Stitcher, this fall season. It's not a huge sampler, 178 by 150. And I have the everything called for this one. I have the pin set for finishing. And then I have Megan kindly sent me the 30 count Old Salem linen by the Primitive Hair, which Primitive Hair fabric is not cheap. So thank you, Megan. Let me show you this fabric. There's a reason why it's so expensive. Like it's cool ass fabric. So yeah, that is fully kitted with the 30 count linen. And then I have the two, it's called for with 2 Gentle Arts flosses and then DMC. So I think I have the called for Gentle Arts in here, and then I just need to pull the DMC when it comes time. I think Megan was toying with the idea of using some of her Roxy Floss Co. from the Autumn Cloche conversion to stitch this. So I'll be intrigued to see if she ends up doing that, or if she just decides to go with the called for. Then I have one that's not going to be a kit for much longer, but this is At Home by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. Don't mind the needle minder I have on here. Went ahead and pulled a needle minder. Oh, everyone and their mother is working on this right now. I was roped into it, not roped into it. Quite literally, I was just talking with Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher, and she mentioned that she was wanting to start this and she was waiting on her chart. And I was like, oh, what's that? I Googled it and I was like, well, I'm buying that. So I did. And then I got the Vicki Clayton silk conversion for it because this is a large heirloom piece sampler as well. And so I don't mind splurging on the silks, especially considering these Vicki Clayton silks are really affordable. For reference, an NPI skein of silk, which is needlepoint silk, is $5 a skein. On average, these Vicki Clayton silks come out to be about $3.40. So honestly, they're just about $1 more expensive than an overdyed cotton. And they're cheaper than getting Roxy Floss Co., which is one of my favorite cotton dyers. I will still buy from them. But these are extremely economical silks. They're very shiny and so soft, and I am obsessed with them. And then I have this kitted with a 36 count cut of fabric that I dyed myself because I was on the struggle bus finding fabric for this. So honestly, probably by the time you're watching this video, this will be a start and not a kit anymore. But you know, it's here with me right now, so we're gonna talk about it. All right, next up is a Plum Street. I love Plum Street charts so much. This is Spring Moon. This used to be an exclusive to Fox and Rabbit, and it came out as a full release at Market this year. And I immediately snapped it up. I had been meaning to buy it for forever, and then this was the kick in the pants I needed. They have just recently come out with Summer Moon, which is also beautiful, and I do want to stitch that as well. I pulled the called for floss, but I will be swapping out. This is used brick. This is the one floss that with the rest of them I don't love. So I am going to be swapping out for one of these 3 flosses, which is more in this like purple mauve family. I think it just fits my vibe more. And I have 2 possible fabrics in this bag. First up is a 40 count oyster shell by Fox and Rabbit, which is a purpley gray, which I think would be very pretty. Second I have is Dirty Linen by XJew. This is more of like a traditional gray with like a brown undertone, like a DMC 645. Also very pretty, both very soft linens, and I'll make the choice when the time comes to start that chart. I did think I was gonna be starting that pretty soon, and I kind of haven't. So we'll get that, you know, fixed later. Next up is the Things Unseen sampler by Lizzie Kate. I have been intrigued by this sampler ever since like a year ago. I saw my friend Alexis of Alexis_My_Amazing_World stitching it, and then I forgot about it, and I got reminded about it when I was watching Sarah of Stitchy Friends here on FlossTube of her recent whip parade. And so I bought it, and I fully kitted it with everything called for except the fabric because I couldn't get that. This piece does have some beads, so I wasn't sure about doing it on a 36 count. But I think Alexis is doing it on an 18 count Aida, so I need to reach out to her and see. But I do have a 32 count Tyco linen by Picture This Plus, which is, you know, like a cream color. So I do have a 32 count that will work in the bag with it, but if I can get away with doing it on a 36 and stitching it 1/2 instead of 2/2, I will be happy. So I have the called for flosses and the bead pack as well, ready to go. The only annoying thing about this chart is that, okay, so it's a mystery sampler. I've only ever participated in mystery sals that were PDF charts. You know what I mean? And this one is a paper chart, but at the end, they didn't combine them all into one paper chart that you purchase. Like, you have to buy 3 paper charts to get this project, which is annoying. Like, it's been out for a while. Can't you just like convert it to one? Like, I don't want to pay $8. I spent $24 just on the chart for this thing. But it's beautiful, so I will stitch it. But it's just kind of like, you couldn't combine it into just one chart after all this time. Then I got, this one is going to be a restart next month, but this is the Vanity Sampler by Hello from Liz Matthews. I originally started this with my friends back in May, and I'm doing my friend Cam of Cam the Stitcher here on FlossTube, her amazing conversion to these like gothic pinks. Beautiful. And I had started it on Flannel Flower and it wasn't working because there are a few flosses in this conversion that are too light to be stitched on that fabric. So I rekitted it while I was at StitchCon with a new fabric, and I think it's going to work beautifully. This is a 40 count spilled coffee linen by Extra Designs, which is, look at that modeling. When have you ever seen modeling like that on a fabric before? That is beautiful, and it is so soft, and I cannot wait to stitch this on this. And I'm gonna start with the light floss that I had an issue with last time, just to make sure that it's working okay. Because if this doesn't work, I will cry, and I don't know what I will do. So that's that. But I am planning on restarting this in the month of August for 3 Cat Stitching on Instagram is hosting a #restartathon 2023. I also have my Tiger Lily Designs project cards in here. It helps me identify what the kit is when I don't have the actual paper chart. Okay, this is another planned restart. This was originally a WIP. This is the 12 Days of Christmas series by Hello from Liz Matthews. I will show you my original progress. I started stitching these 1/1 on 32 count linen. I hate stitching 1/1 on 32 count linen with a fiery passion. And because this is going to be so much stitching, I decided to cut it off, get rid of this, and start stitching it to 1/2 on a different linen. So I now have a full fat half of Cream and Sugar 46 count by Fiber on a Whim that Abby Top Knot Stitcher got for me, or that I purchased through her. So I now have this, and I'm going to be stitching the whole thing on one grid. And Liz has a grid design for you to stitch all of these on one piece of fabric. But my thing is, I love the individual borders on the piece. So I am still stitching them with their borders, which adds a whole lot more stitching. There is someone else on Instagram who I originally saw stitching at 1/1 on 32 all together, like the same way. So it wasn't my original idea, but I just don't love the process of stitching 1/1. I can do it for like initials or a small verse, but doing it for 12 whole 97 by 113 samplers together on a piece over years was not for me. So I have this kitted with the called for MPIs. Everything is in this bag together. There have been 8 releases for the 12 days so far. And since I haven't even started one over again, I am so behind, but they are beautiful. The 4th day is my favorite so far, along with the 5th day, because it does have gold embroidery hoops on it. So Liz really killed it with this series. I think this is going to be such a special heirloom piece when it's all done. And yeah, that's that. Okay, we're getting into the home stretch here. This one I haven't put in a bag yet because it's a new acquisition, but I got the Dinky Dye Silks to do, I don't know if this has a name, but this is a freebie. I will put a picture here from the Blue Flower, and I saw Abby Topknot's finish of this, and I thought I need to do that because it is beautiful and it's exactly my style. I'm a big fan of the Blue Flower. And so I have this kitted right now with some 40 count Milk and Honey by Fiber on a Whim. I think Abby stitched hers on Picture This Plus Sand, which I have been having a hard time getting my hands on. So these are the called for dinky dyes for that chart. I wasn't going to get the dinky dyes, but it doesn't have a DMC conversion, and I love the way it looks as called for, so here we are. So that needs to go in a bag. Okay, let's talk some Quakers. So I have, here's a restart, but a few of the others are just regular kits. This is Spring Quakers by Rosewood Manor. I have Summer Quakers about a third of the way finished right now, over a third of the way finished, actually, for a matter of fact. And I am planning on stitching all of these seasonal Quakers in the season that they're in. So essentially it's one whip because I'm only working on one of them every 3 months or 4 months, no, 3 months. So it's like one big whip, even though they're all stitched on different fabrics. So this is spring. I had originally started this first, but I fell out of love with my fabric. So I decided to de-kit it and restart it on a different fabric. So let me show you. I have the original piece in here just for reference until I get it restarted. This is the Called For Linen, which is a 28 count Valor. It's beautiful. I just don't love it with these colors on it. It's not my vibe, and since spring is my birth season, I want it to be me. So I re-kitted it with a new cut of linen. This is a 28 count Sprite by Picture This Plus. It's coming off more purple on camera than it is in person. It's not this deep. It's a very, very light lavender. And when you hold the Called For Baldani threads over it, I enjoy the vibe of this so much more. So I'm very excited to get this started again next spring. But until then, this will sit in the kitted projects. The other two Quakers will be started before that. So like I said, it's kind of one big whip since they're only worked on every season. But it's technically 4 individual pieces. I don't know why I'm trying to justify it as one, because I don't think I've told you in this video, but if you have passive aggressive comments about the number of things I'm stitching or the number of things I've kitted, please keep them to yourself. Had a lot of passive aggressive whip number comments recently, and if you leave them, I will delete them. So keep it to yourself. Personal preference is personal preference. Next up is Winter Quakers. Love this. And this is the most different one that I have of all of them. This I actually kitted with the Leo and Roxy, which is now Roxy Floss Conversion, which is beautiful. It makes me a little nervous that they're not all going to like exactly match. I thought originally when I bought this one that I was going to do a Roxy Floss Conversion for all of them, and then I forgot about that and just bought the Baldanis. Because at the time, I'd only been stitching for like a month. I'd been stitching for like a year. I'd only bought one Roxy Flossco kit, and I didn't know that you could just ask them for conversions at that point. I thought that you just had to wait until they made one, and so they'd made Winter Quakers, and they hadn't made any of the other seasons, and so I didn't know you could just ask for them, so I bought it as called for. But it came with the 32 count blank slate linen, which will be beautiful. But now the question is, do I go crazy and stitch with 3 strands of this to make it match? Or do I just live with the fact that this will be 2 strands and will look less full than the others? I guess I wouldn't really be displaying them all at the same time anyway. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I could always just put these flosses into stash and be fine and kit this up with the Baldani. But, you know, that's a conundrum that happens when you're someone who's extremely matchy-matchy, and I am that. Okay, and then finally, this is the one I'll be starting first of the 3 that I have kitted, and this is the Autumn Quakers. That's what this one looks like. This one is my favorite one of all 3. It is amazing. I literally cannot wait to start this, and I think Megan and Alexis, are you starting this with us or is it just Megan? I have the called for fabric here, which is 28 count doubloon linen by Picture This Plus, and the called for Valdanis. Beautiful. This color right here, I need my whole life to be this color. So pretty. So I need to put these on some floss drops because I'm a floss drops stitcher. And that will be a new start in this upcoming fall season. Okay, we are in the home stretch here. Next up in this chunky bag, I have my chatelaine. I have kitted the Medieval Town Mandala by Chatelaine. I have a small chatelaine in my whip pile that I'd like to finish first, and then this will be the one I start. Although honestly, I kitted this up over a year ago, almost 2 years ago actually, because you do have to kit chatelaines way in advance if you're buying them through European Cross Stitch. It took me about 8 months to get my kit after I ordered it. So I really want to do Tinctorium. I'll put a picture here. But I have Medieval Town kitted with the called for NPIs and Karen Water Lilies and Glorianas and beads and treasure braid. Like, there is a shit ton of stuff in here. And I have it all kitted and ready to go, aside from fabric, which I will still have to choose. But I just don't know that of the chatelaines, this is the one I want anymore, because over the last 2 years, my stitchy tastes have wildly changed. But there is a lot of money sunk into this. This was a birthday present from my grandfather for me one year, and yeah, it's an expensive project to kit, but I don't know if this, it's also like an extremely time intensive project, and I don't know that this is the one that I want. Okay, we have 3 more and then we're done. Next up, I don't think she watches this, but if you're watching this, Emily, my friend Emily who is pregnant, turn away. Look, exit out. This is your checkpoint to get off the ride. Go away now. I have a friend, Emily, who's pregnant, and I am stitching this for her. This is After the Rain by Hello from Liz Matthews. I will probably also stitch it for myself because I'm obsessed with Liz. And I'm stitching this. I'm only going to do, I think, 3 of the rainbows square for my friend as a present. This is she's pregnant right now with her rainbow baby, and she has been trying to become a mom for, I think, 5 years. And so it is exciting for her. I'm very happy for her. And so this is her rainbow baby. So I'm gonna stitch her some little rainbows for her nursery. So this, quite honestly, might be the most beautiful color palette I've ever seen in my whole life. I've stitched a lot of Liz Matthews charts, and this is my favorite. This is the called for DMC. Liz, you genius. I don't know how you do it every single time, but I actually love this palette so much that I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'm going to convert another chart to be in this palette of colors because I just need everything. I have this kitted with a 28 count, which I just said I don't stitch on, but I did the math, and if I stitch 3 of the rainbows on a 28 count, that will fit in like a standard square frame that I can get at the craft store. So this is White Tea by Color and Cotton. It's gonna be beautiful, and then I may use the leftover cut to stitch it for myself with all 25 rainbows, or I might do a modified grid for myself on a different fabric. I'm not sure. We'll get to me later, but I do have to stitch it before the baby is born in December. So there's a bit of a timeline on that one, but this chart is so manageable that I think I'll be fine. Okay, so we have 3 projects left. We're finally coming into the end of this video, but they are all Forbidden Fiber Co kits that I have with the project bags. So the first one was a Bridgerton. I bought the Viscount project kit. I love this project bag so much. And in here, I have both patterns in this series. So the first one is Incomparable. This came out with the first season of Bridgerton. I love the quote in the house, but the people aren't my style of people. So I do have some planned changes for this. I'll probably start stitching this in December when the next season of Bridgerton comes out. Or I might actually just do the quote and then do it as a pillow. I do love that house though, we'll see. And then the other one was Viscount, also with this one, just the quote. It's just, the people aren't my style. It's just not for me. But if there is enough leftover when I'm done stitching it, I may pass the stash on this one. I have it kitted with the 32 count linen in the color Parliament and the 16 count Ada, also in the same color. So I have options on what I'm going to stitch it with. And then I have in a giant jumble all of the called for Forbidden Fiber Co. flosses for these two charts. So I have everything to make both of them. I just need to figure out how I'm modifying them to suit my tastes. But I do love the quote, particularly on this one with the houses. So my kind of idea is to do the house, mirror the tree on the other side, stitch the quote, and then tighten the border, and either only do it on the sides or just on 3 sides and not all the way around. We'll see. It's a lot of changes, which is probably why I haven't stitched them, just because I think you should always make things work for you and your particular style. I think they're amazing. They're just not quite what I need, but I love the quotes. Okay, then I got the Summer and Sunnydale box, which is their Buffy the Vampire Slayer box. I like this like wedge style project bag. It's really fun. And this one has a series of 4 charts in here that came out with the box. They are hand, let me grab them. You have Hand, which is Buffy, Mind, which is Giles, Spirit, which is Willow, and Heart, which is Xander. And so they were a series of 4. I was playing with the idea of stitching these 1/1 on 25 count, and either stitching them as individual pillows to like go in a Buffy themed dough bowl together, or as like 4 individual finishes to like go together, or just do them in 1 row on one thing. But I do have a 1/4 yard of the colorway Chosen in a 25 count Lugana to stitch these with. And then I have the called for flosses that came in that box. The box came with the stitches, the floss to do Buffy, and then I bought the floss to do the other 3 as well. So each one is kind of in a monochromatic color scheme. So Buffy's is in pinks and purples, Willow's is in oranges and reds, Xander's is in blues, and Giles is in like reds and grays. So they all have like their own particular color scheme. It's a pretty hefty ring of colors, but I have pulled from these to do other Forbidden Fiber Co. conversions in the past, so it's been nice to have that kind of stash of their flosses. And the final bag that I have is the Elvis kit. And this came out when the new Elvis movie came out last year. But the chart for this is called Blue Suede Shoes. My plan is to just stitch Elvis and finish him into like a glasses case for my mom, because my mom is a huge Elvis fan. She's why I bought this kit. And the color fabric is Roustabout. This is a 36 count linen. It's a very beautiful light blue. And then I have all of the flosses to do that. So yeah, I'm just gonna stitch Elvis on this 36 count linen. I might even stitch it on a different linen and save that 36 count, because that is beautiful. And I have a few other charts that I think would look really good on that. So yeah, that is officially everything in my kitted projects bucket. So I thought it might be fun to kind of talk through a wish list a little bit, like give you kind of my top 5 charts in my stash that I want to kit up, and my top 5 charts outside of my stash that I like to kit up. So let me grab my notes. Okay, so let's start with the charts that I don't have. So these are just ideas of projects that I want to kit up. I don't have the chart, I don't have fabric or floss, I don't have anything to do them, but they are on my wish list. And number 1 right now is the Pink Sparrow Sampler by Brenda Gervais. This is also freaking Lauren. It is so beautiful. I love the colors, those shades of like pinks and oranges and purples. It's my kind of sampler. It doesn't have any people, it has a cool funky bird and some cool alphabets. So I love that. I really want to stitch that. Then let's do Celtic Spring by Lavender and Lace. Again, my birthday's in the spring. I love her. I think she's very beautiful. And I like the shades of purple. I have kind of toyed with the idea of recharting the word spring with my name, but that's also kind of, I don't know if that's necessarily my style. I just really, really like her. I think she's very, very cool. And so she's on my list. Let's see, what else? Oh, Promise of Spring by Cottage Garden Samplings has been really calling my name recently. I saw this when Jessie Marie Does Stuff was showing her Whip Parade, and I love it. I think it's kind of funky, gives kind of a Dutch vibe, for no reason. I have no reason for that, saying that, but that's how I feel. I like it. I think it's fun. What Remains is Love by Blackbird Designs. My friend Maddie was starting this at StitchCon, and I loved it there. Shiloh of XStitchMD just finished it. I think it's really funky and fun, and that's definitely at the top of my wish list right now. And let's do a small one. Hello Winter by Plum Street had this whole series, but specifically this one. I would do all 4, I think. I love like the delicate nature of these. I like the words. I like the whole thing that's happening. I really, really am drawn to that right now. I think it's very cool, and I definitely want to stitch that. Okay, so let's talk projects that I have in, like I have the chart, but I have not kitted them up all the way yet. That's a little bit easier for me. So number 1 is Blackberry House by Plum Street Samplers. I want to stitch this so bad. Everyone I love has finished it, and I just want to do it. And so I really would like to kit this up ASAP. I'd like to start it this upcoming winter season. So that's on the top of the list. I also, this is a surprise to no one, but would like to kit up the Autumn Queen by Mirabilia. I have the chart, and I actually already have the fabric. I just need to get the flosses, so that kind of counts. Olga by Plum Street Samplers. Love her. And I have the chart, and I just need to get the flosses and pick a fabric. I think that could be a really fast, fun start. It's a little grumpy cat with an alphabet. I love it. Let's see, From Nature to My Needle by The Blue Flower. Again, I love everything The Blue Flower does. This chart is really cool because every animal that's on there is intentionally related to the creation of cross stitch. So like silkworms and sheep, and it's just everything on there is intentional, and it has a really beautiful quote about cross stitching, which I love. Ink Circles After the Roses. I have the chart for this, and I don't have any of the rest of it kitted, but I love this chart. I think it is so beautiful. It's my kind of florals, and yeah, definitely need to get on that. M.A. Reeve 1824 by Kathy Barrick. I have affectionately nicknamed this piece the Derpy Deer Sampler. I want to stitch it so bad just for that derpy little deer. I love it. He's so cute. So I need to kit this one up ASAP. I was toying with the idea, so I'm going to visit some friends in St. Louis in next month, and I'll be making a trip to the Color and Cotton store while I'm there, and I've been playing with the idea of kitting that up in some Color and Cottons, but also Kathy Barrick is just a master of color in DMC, so I don't know if I necessarily want to veer off. I need to gather the DMC and see my thoughts, but love that derpy little deer. I gotta stitch him. Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais. Shocker, shocker, another Brenda Gervais chart. I have been on such a Brenda Gervais kick recently, and I'm blaming Lauren, but I'm not mad about it. So this is Winter Rose Manor. Everyone and their mother has seen this chart or worked on it or finished it, and I haven't even started it. So I just want that pink house. I love it so much. Actually, I think I might have the called for fabric in my stash, but I don't have the chart or the flosses. And let's see, what's the other one? Oh, I really want to kit up. This is a small one. This is the Woodpecker by Cottage Garden Samplings. I have the chart, but I don't have the flosses or the fabric yet, and I want to start that pretty soon because I'm getting close to a finish on the fox, and once I finish him, I'll start another one from that series since I have them all. Okay, so let me know if there's any other charts you think I need to add to my wish list. I am always happy to add to my ever-growing list of cross stitches that I would like to complete in my lifetime, even though at this point, based on this, kit parade, you've seen that I have enough projects to stitch for a lifetime, or at least for a full-time job, which I already have a different one of those. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, let me know what's your favorite project you have kitted up. Do you have any of these kitted up that you want to start with me or you'd like to see me work on? Obviously I kitted them all up because I love them all, and I can't wait to get them all started eventually when the mood strikes and the time is right. And yeah, so let me know what you think I need to kit up, any suggestions or anything like that. Let me know what you're kitting up, what you're working on, what are you interested in starting here upcoming. I know Expo's coming, which means more new charts are coming, but there's always fun old charts to stitch on as well. So yeah, that is everything for today. If you are interested in seeing my regular floss tubes where I give my updates on what I'm actually stitching and not just what my wish list is, which is essentially this video, I will link that in the description box down below. Go ahead and like and subscribe, leave me a comment, all of those wonderful things. And I will see you guys in my next regularly scheduled video. Bye.